Ladies and gentlemen, the video you're about to see, some of you may feel a little bit offended by, but it is what it is. Enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, Jazz Borgonzo here. What's next? Freedom of speech. And I know that on this program, we've talked a lot about it um, in regards to cancel culture, in regards to how we deal with the shenanigans, deal with the nonsense, deal with the political correctness, deal with the identity politics, the forced diversity, the forced inclusion, and all these other buzzwords that have been a detriment to what true freedom of speech is. We know we still have a semblance of freedom of speech in this country. We know that every time when you have an SJW clutching their pearls, with their panties in a bunch, going regarding anybody who speaks truth, not my truth, not your truth, but truth. We know we can fight back. There are those of us who can still fight back. Those of us who go on social media, those of us who podcast, those of us who do videos like this, can combat that. But sadly, just when you think that there is still some freedom of speech, vestige of freedom of speech, shall I say, not just in this country, but outside of the United States, that there are those who are combating back. One particular would go across the pond to Great Britain, and you have a number of those who fight back. Stefan Molyneux is one. Sargon of Akkad is another. His daily podcast. You have a number of Brits who combat this on their individual YouTube channels and social media pages. But we're going to take a look at a story, shall I say, that I will put in the category of under the radar. Let's take a look. This is one of two parts. This comes out of Breitbart. Blasphemy. Grammar school teacher suspended for showing Muhammad cartoon. As you can see, a group of, I'm assuming these are parents and children outside of the Bailey Grammar School. Bailey Grammar School in the north of England has apologized profusely and suspended its religious education teacher after he showed a cartoon of Muhammad during a lesson on blasphemy. According to the Daily Mail, headmaster Gary Kibble issued a, quote, sincere and, quote, unequivocal apology, called the image totally inappropriate, and said the school had immediately withdrawn teaching on this part of the course. Gotta love that freedom of speech, don't you? Presumably, in his mind, had been concentrated on the large crowd of the Muslim parents who had gathered outside of schools since 7:30 a.m. to protest. It wasn't until 2:30 p.m. that the police were finally able to disperse the crowd with no arrest or fine issued. The school's craven response may be understandable given that the Muslims make up 41% of the local population in Batley, West Yorkshire, and given that the school itself, which serves halal-approved food in its canteen, has nearly 3/4 of its pupils from ethnic minorities, and that the fact that a French schoolteacher who's shown images of the Islamic prophet during a lesson on freedom of expression wound up publicly beheaded by a Muslim refugee. Very interesting. The National Secular Society has described the parents' protest, whipped up by local imams and Muslim activists, as, quote, an attempt to impose Islamic blasphemy taboo on the school. Basically forcing the school's hand in saying, hey, you showed Muhammad, something may have to happen. Just saying. The Mail also quotes Stephen Evans as chief executive. Teachers must have a reasonable degree of freedom to explore sensitive subjects and enable students to think critically. Wow, critical thinkers about them. And the school's weak response will fuel a climate of censorship, which is brought on by attempts to force society as a whole to accommodate unreasonable and reactionary religious views. Interesting. Very interesting. Now we're going to not switch gears, but this is going to be part 2 of this. Muslim leaders demand UK show respect to Islam or face becoming like France. Ooh. Smells like threats. Just saying. Local Islamic leaders in West Yorkshire will send a letter to Prime Minister Boris Johnson demanding that Brits show respect to Islam or face becoming like France, following controversy over a teacher showing students a picture of Muhammad. So let me get this straight. One, let me make this very clear that this is the first time I've done an Islamic story on this program. Another first. Second, if Brits were showing, say, I don't know, a picture of Moses, a picture of Abraham, a picture of Jesus, would the school be threatened the way this school is being threatened? I'm going to go with a no on that. But guarantee you, you would have the almost 41% of the school's makeup would have some kind of an issue saying, I don't know, Jesus Christ is Lord, Savior of mankind. There's only one way to God, and that's through His Son, Jesus Christ. I'm just throwing, darts in the dark here. But just me. The Imam of Al-Hakam Institute in Bradford, Adil Shazad, warned that there may be consequences from the Muslim community if actions are not taken against a teacher who had already been suspended and forced into hiding. Wow. That's sad and pathetic. That because a religious class, which the teacher talked about freedom of expression by showing a picture of Muhammad, this teacher needs to be taught a serious lesson. So you have thrown threats, not just at the teacher, but also at the school by saying, hey, if you do not do A, B will happen. Local campaigners have been protesting outside the Batley Grammar School, vowing to continue demonstrating until the teacher is fired. Quote, all we ask is for a bit of respect. No. Shazad, who told the Times this, no, you're not, dude. You're not. You're not asking for a little bit of respect. Asking for a little bit of respect would say, hey, you know what? Yeah, you know what? Can you back off a little bit? Just show a little respect. When you put it that way, that's one thing. But when you are basically threatening to turn Yorkshire into France, and of course, for those who need a little background history regarding what happened with France, there was a a newspaper in France. I will not mention the name, who basically decided to put out cartoons of the prophet Muhammad in not so good of a light. Of course, those who know history know that this newspaper was shot up. They came, they saw, they shot the place up. A number of people were injured and or killed. And as those who remember what France was maybe 2014, 2015, 2016, is that they were, you had Islamic terrorists come in screaming Allah Akbar with automatic weapons and shooting up various spots in France to the point where it got out of control. And for those who don't believe me, look it up. It's called facts. So 5, 6 years later, you have these imams running around, getting everybody all, all flustered, getting them all riled up, and basically saying, if you don't get rid of this teacher, we are going to turn this into France. Now, to me, that's a flat out threat. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's just a flat out threat, and you need to deal with threats severely, especially when you're talking about Islamic terrorism. And I know Islamic terrorism hasn't been talked about as of late, only because whether you like him or not, Donald Trump did a solid job regarding ISIS during his tenure as president. And of course, Islamic terrorism has dropped off. But then again, these are the same people who kept quiet till 9/11. So there's that. A Muslim refugee publicly beheaded a French teacher, Samuel Paty, who had shown images of the Islamic prophet during a lesson of freedom of expression. Shahzad said that if Batley's Grammar School, doesn't do the quote right thing, then Britain will likely that will follow the route that France has taken, for example, or other European countries, where firstly, let's insult the prophet, then we start banning the burqa, and so forth and so forth, and then more extreme measures could possibly be taken. This story was very interesting on two parts. The fact of the matter is that Islamic terrorism, doesn't take a day off. They don't. They hide, they wait, and then they strike. Now, when it comes to this situation, is that because a teacher didn't do the wrong thing, teacher did the right thing by talking about freedom of expression. They say, hey, talk about Jesus, Moses, Abraham, Isaac, Muhammad, who I put on a second tier, should be all for grabs. Everything should be laid out on the table. To say if we can talk about one, we can talk about the other without post threats being thrown against us. Well, no, being that you, Great Britain, have allowed extremists to come into your country, when you've allowed illegals to come into your country and to basically take over, especially in certain towns and provinces and cities, shall I say. When you basically have said, okay, this is Great Britain, this is what it is to be English in this country, you will abide by it. But when you have taken your hands off and say, come on in, welcome to the party, enjoy your stay, then this is what you get. And more stuff like this is going to happen. So you've got nobody to blame but yourself, pal. And when I mean pal, I mean England. You've got nobody to blame. So the smart thing to do, the smart thing would be, excuse me, would be the headmaster of that school to basically tell the group who's protesting to go pound sand and kick rocks. Because basically saying, listen, reluctantly, we suspended the guy. Reluctantly, uh, we've apologized profusely. You pretty much got on one knee, you know, and actually you bent the knee. You bent the knee, you bent the back. That's what you did. But you're saying, no, we're not going to fire the teacher. That's what you do. But then again, these are Brits, and I won't put it past them to say, you know what? Yeah, dude, learn the code as you escort the teacher out of the building for the final time. Wow. Mm. Never a dull moment in the world of woke. And with that being said, I'm Jasper Gonzo. This is What's Next. You want to see more videos just like this, please leave a comment below, like it, share it, hit that subscription button, slam that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.